To those who think of this as simply mud, I say try telling the All England Lawn and Tennis Club that grass is simply grass. To the proud race volunteers and NMRO officials, this mud pit in Bloomsburg, PA is as hallowed a surface as center court at Wimbledon. And to the fans who travel to jamborees to pay homage to the pickup truck, they too understand the magic of this grit and are on hand to witness man and machine bathe in its glory. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the best in NMRO mud racing. Today, it's the Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals from the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Over the years, Bloomsburg has gained the reputation of being a very festive, party-like atmosphere for the Summer Nationals. Now, if you really want to spice up your summer party, just invite the mud racers. But one guy who didn't RSVP is Tom Means. He has a prior racing commitment this weekend, but he has won 3 events over the past 2 years. So without the favorite here, this fiesta is a wide open affair. And here with more in the competition is Army Armstrong.
Well, Gary, one of the invited guests to your party is bringing plenty of horsepower in the form of blower drive service out of Whittier, California. Who am I talking about? None other than last year's winner, Dan Brown, with the Mind Games vehicle. Dan took the win last year. He has since teamed up with the horsepower people out of California, the blower drive service people, to make a phenomenal amount of horsepower. As a matter of fact, once they teamed up, horsepower was a problem. In Lima, Ohio, they made too much horsepower and couldn't get it to stick to the ground. Today, they made a lot of gear changes, a lot of jetting changes and everything, and they believe that they could put Mind Games in the winner's circle. 2nd year in a row at Bloomsburg. Let's see.
Well, the party got started early in a battle of 2 naturally aspirated vehicles. Watch the wild ride Gary Funk takes in the near lane against Althea Lynch. And Funk got acquainted with the Hydra barriers near the Bloomsburg stage. Got a shower, a mouthwash, all in one. Near lane again, Dale Campbell in Showdown does his version of the twist.
And shout. Believe me, Bloomsburg is spooky at best.
And talk about blowing out a candle, Johnny Angel shells a motor. Hey, some party so far.
Bang, lifted a nitrous oxide system, Gary.
And Army, talk about crashing a party. The Thunderbolt was indeed that in the shutdown area. Watch this rollover.
You have any idea what happened?
Kind of got up on the bank there, and once you get up on the bank, you're pretty much done.
What's the track like out there? All these guys in the back of the lineup are really kind of spooky over it. Now that you've gone over, they're really getting nervous.
It's going to be faster. Definitely going to get a lot faster.
Some of the pre-party activities so far. The action at this point in the competition at 3.04 laid down by Brian Herold is the time to beat. There's a look at Dan Brown. He won the Class 6 paddle tire competition here last year. Brings a ton of horsepower, as Army alluded to in the opening of the show. And he stages alongside a touch of madness with Gary Reddick. Now, the naturally aspirated cars have gone before the track is a bit torn up, and there's been a lot of jockeying for lane position. The word is, and as we've seen, the right lane is not the place to be.
Brown's going over, Gary.
That's the left lane, a hard hit. He comes to an abrupt stop. Moving around the cockpit, Dan Brown appears to be okay, but he comes out that left lane and is now collecting his thoughts. Watch again, a head-on shot.
Hooks a rut right there. Hooks a rut and it comes around on him. He's on the throttle. Now he's on his head.
And all he can do is hang on as he takes a couple of violent barrel rolls. But once again, he is okay, and he's down there with Army Armstrong.
Dan, real quick, I don't want to bother you. First of all, I want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay, Army.
Wild, wild ride.
Well, I don't know what happened. I come out that end, I thought I was okay, and all of a sudden we was over. I was on top of them crush cars, and I don't know what happened after that.
Not the way he wanted this party to go. As you can see, the damaged car being hauled back to the pit area. We'll come back with more from Bloomsburg. Welcome back to Bloomsburg, where Ford Trucks present the McCarthy Tire Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. The competition set to continue with Darren TIBBITS in the cockpit of Midnight Magic, the first time in the seat, driving for David Ray.
David Ray has proven a car run, but in the lane next to him, this kid will be Jim Carr. So if you're going to make a good shot, Carr's the guy to have in the next lane with you. He's not going to do anything that'll get this kid in trouble. The car's proven itself. David Ray has shown that this Ford will really make some horsepower. It's ironic both these vehicles are powered by Ford. One of them a 27 body in the far lane and one in 23 in the near lane. Carr versus TIBBITS, Old Pro near, kid in the far lane. You've got him, it looks like.
Kid with a good ride. The time to beat a 3:04. Let's take a look. 3:36, a good ride. He had to be intimidated by that lane, but a good ride for the youngster.
Whoa.
But Jimmy Carr, a 2:86. 2:86 will put Carr at the top of the leaderboard.
And they both made it through on all four wheels. That's good.
Well, up next, a classic matchup, Tom Martin and Ron Pence. Ron Pence and Tater, Tom Martin in the Super Trooper. But first, let's go down the track and talk with James Carr. Here's Army.
Jimmy, congratulations to 286 on your wheels.
Thank you. It felt good. It was going straight, so it felt real good.
Is the track going to come around? Everybody's really kind of spooky in the back of this field. You made a good run. You went quick, but will your good run help the guy behind you?
I don't know. There wasn't much up there at the starting line. We picked the left-hand side. It looked pretty good. There wasn't that many ruts, and hopefully that was the right choice.
All right, back to the starting line now. There is the Super Trooper. That is Tom Martin, staged alongside the veteran Ron Pence.
Both these guys, yeah, Gary, they run year-round. Coming outdoors, they can really make some horsepower. They do a lot of indoor racing in the winter months. But right now, closest to us kind of looks like a Red Light Bandit out of Southern California years ago. Good race.
Well, Pence takes that one. Let's check the time. Looky there, 2.76, your new leader, a 2.76 for Ron Pence.
Yeah, but Martin, he could just get a 3.14. So the left lane seems to be coming around.
Coming right at you, there is Ron Pence and Tater, a 2.76. And let's go down and talk to the quiet one, Ron.
Ron, the number comes up, 2.76. That's good for the lead right now, but will the track stay where you can run those good numbers for the guys behind you?
I don't know. It's pretty rough out there. It could get better.
It looked like you all were not just chirp bouncing, you were really bouncing out there, up in the air.
Yeah, it's one of the worst tracks I've run on quite a while.
Well, the man of few words had a lot to say right there, Army.
Wonder how he really feels about the track, Gary.
Interesting combination. We got a hot tuna coming up against a dirty bird.
Hot tuna, 48 Fiat. Used to see him in drag racing years ago. First time we've had a chance to see Bob in quite a while. Meanwhile, Gary Bam Bam Osteen, all the way up from Daytona Beach, Florida, being the lane closest to us. Osteen running a gazillion cubic inch Ford motor. Took the body off. They used to run a Thunderbird body.
Problem in the near lane, problem in the far lane. A crash in the far lane. HEISNER gets those junk cars from the monster truck track. There's the damage. He is okay in the cockpit. Originally a mechanical problem for Gary Osteen. Hot tuna, a 288. And there is Gary Osteen.
Osteen stumbles on the start line, but Hot Tuna, he was fried on the other end. Direct hit.
Take a look again. He gets in trouble in the shutdown area.
Really, these cars are away from the track. He's in trouble right now.
He's a long way off the track as he gets those crash cars in the monster truck lane in the infield here at Bloomsburg. See the damage to the left rear, but once again, the driver is okay, and Army Armstrong has caught up with him.
Gary, once again, the EMTs really have their hands full here. This Bloomsburg thing, everybody really kind of gets after it. Really goes hard. But what the EMTs are doing right now, she's talking to him, asking him questions he should know the answer to. Everything's looking good. She just checked to make sure that he had good control of his muscles by grabbing hold of her hands, everything. So they're going to let him sit in there, kind of get his wind back, and then we'll be back to race in just a minute, Gary.
It is indeed a wicked racetrack here at Bloomsburg. We're coming back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back to the carnage of Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. The Robert HEISNER car being towed off after his crash. Competition continues now with the boss, Brian Bulanda. He'll be taking on Al Jones, the Mud Hen. The boss, a 27 full-fendered roadster in racing green. And speaking of green, there's the Mud Hen.
You know, a lot of superstition about the color green, but the Mud Hen all the way out from Idaho and Jones, we got two mean green mud machines here. But so far, the sound of the day at this track is with ooch, ow, oh.
Yeah, a lot of crashing, a rough track. Let's see what happens in this run. Look at that, head on into the barriers. I cannot believe it.
Oh,
It looked like he locked up the front end and just steered right straight to the barrier.
We had a radar on him, and believe it or not, impact was made. Get this, impact was at 68 mile an hour, head on. The barriers held, the driver's okay. That was awesome, Gary.
Oh, you can see the damage to the front end. Now, once again, as we watch the replay, Army, watch him lock up the brakes. That effectively takes away any steering possibility, and he slides head on into those barricades.
Boy, the Bloomsburg's like an old rock and roll song. If the left lane don't get you, then the right lane will.
It's easy for us to second guess, but I would think as we look at the damage that had he gotten off the brakes, regained some steering, and powered up, he may have driven by that stage.
Yeah, but if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bust his bottom every time he jumps either. This guy hooks up on the right side of the track, has a good run going, and I'm wondering if some mud got in his face or something. He had to know that that wall was down there, but he still drove right into it like he was aiming for it, Gary.
Today's competition has been like a demolition derby. Army?
Gary, we're taking a look at the front end of the car now. They take it away on the hook. We want you to know these Yodoc safety barriers, they do their job. We put them at the end of the infamous Bloomsburg wall, and they took a direct hit at 68 mile an hour. They saved the driver. Car's worse for wear, but the driver's okay. He did walk away.
Let's take a look now at some highlights from earlier in the competition. This is Rick Wheeler in alley-oop, and he gets up on the high side of the berm.
Love the name of the car.
Second generation driver Brian Herold in the Surf Rat with a 304 against David Forbotnik.
Father and son team going to make history in this sport within the next 2 or 3 years.
There's his time for Brian, a 3:04 earlier in the competition. Chuck Knoll in the Stepchild comes all the way from Palm Harbor, Florida, and also gets atop the berm in the far lane. He got DQ'd.
But he is fast when he's not DQ'd.
Look at this. Mike Bareman simply overpowers the track with the Audis horsepower. Just a ton of horsepower.
Like skipping a rock, Gary.
And Dan Vukovich in Bone Digger goes out of bounds, and he gets DQ'd.
Other than that, everybody went straight as an arrow all day long today.
While his opponent in the other lane, Chris CAIN, turns a pretty good pass for being so late in the field. Raising CAIN right there. Also late in the field, Mike Comella in Bonkers goes down at 292, which is currently the 4th quick time in the competition. There are your current standings. Ron Penn still on top with a 276. Then it's CARR, HEISNER, COMELLA, and CAIN. Well, the four-wheel jamborees are part of the Special Events Performance Series featuring a weekend of four-wheel fun. Check out the manufacturer's Midway. There's also several categories of show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out when a jamboree will be in your area. Fred Wilhite, you saw him a couple of weeks ago win the Paddle Tire Class 6 competition in Lima. Coming up to the line, and earlier, Army took a look at Money Pit.
Well, you think you've seen this vehicle before? Not the case at all. As a matter of fact, this is a brand new, complete Money Pit of Fred Wilhite. After setting the world speed record in Lima, Ohio, on the very next run at an outlaw race, the vehicle was completely destroyed. As a matter of fact, the only thing they could actually use were the rear tires and rear wheel assembly. From this point forward, it's a complete rebuild. Now, Fred Wilhite, the owner, driver, and now chassis manufacturer, is kind of like a cooter turtle. As they follow these national points, they have to carry everything they own on their back. While he was on the road, he completely rebuilt the vehicle. He said, hey, if I'm going to own it, drive it, and build the chassis, I might as well start my own chassis company. I want you to check it out. It's called Fred Pro Chassis. Fred Wilhite will be in the thick of the action today.
Well, Fred will be taking on Rodney Covington in Mud Rat. Last time we saw Rodney was in Lima at the '94 Spring Nationals. Rodney had this violent wreck. Wasn't in Lima this year. What a race he picked and returned to. But watch this crash in Lima.
This scares me every time I see it. Watch his hands.
He was one lucky boy not to get injured in that crash.
Yes, he was. You put him next to this guy, it's like mixing acid and acid. Something's got to give.
WILHITE takes it out the far side. Covington with a problem. A 271. Fred WILHITE takes the top of the leaderboard with a 271.
Down in the field, too. We were worried about the track. WILHITE shows you can still get it to the track. Meanwhile, a 509 Covington has the back pedal. Another time, another day, like they say.
Watch Fred WILHITE. Look at the ruts. Look at the ruts. He climbs to the right side of the lane, stays on the power, and turns down a 2.71. Here's Fred and Army.
Well, Gary, Fred WILHITE with the money pit didn't let this thing bother him at all. It's a brand new vehicle. We told you about him wrecking it, having to put it back together. So the guy with the little dingleberries on top goes quick at a 271. All these problems all day long, and you go out there and drive just like it's a Sunday drive.
It might have looked good from there, but where I was at, I was all over that place. There wasn't nothing straight I seen.
It has been a wild day in Bloomsburg with more to come. Stay with us. It has been a rough day in Bloomsburg. Some wreckage of Brian Bulanda's boss and Dan Brown's mind games too. We have 2 more races to go as they continue to work on the wrecked cars. The first pair, Jeremy Finley and S-Kicker, taking on Mike Yosha.
This is going to be a good run too. Finley, he's a hard charger in this sport. And Yosha, like I say, this guy, you get behind them glasses, he's got the Harley mentality. He likes to crank it wide open. Both of them running supercharged engines, drawn late in the field. WILHITE showed you could get down the track if you skip on top of the mud. Let's see if either one of these guys can figure that out. Great runs, Gary.
271, the time to beat. Finley a 282. A good run puts him up high on the leaderboard, but not on top. And Mike Yosha clocks in at 298. Our final competitor will draw a single, David Whitehurst in Psycho. But first, let's send it down to Army with Jeremy Finley.
Jeremy, a 282 is an awfully good number this late in the field, especially the way things are going today.
Yeah, track's real rough right now. We had to line up all the way to the right side of it to get anything out of it.
Can anybody behind you get anything off that track?
There's always a good chance of it.
Well, let's see if our final competitor can do exactly that. David Whitehurst needs to beat that 271.
A lot of you folks at home don't know this, but this is what Gary Lee's high school teacher put in his high school annual when she wrote it. Dear Gary, you will always be a psycho.
Oh, how pathetic.
Caught you not being able to talk, Gary Lee. That's a first.
I'm on Prozac. A 289, not quick enough, which means Fred WILHITE will take the victory in a wild day here in Bloomsburg with a 271. Ron Pence goes second, then Jeremy Finley, James CARR, and Whitehurst rounding out the top 5. So here's your winner.
Fred WILHITE's money pit, the big money winner today. I tell you what, you can go home and tell him you won the Battle of Bloomsburg, because it was literally a war out there. Only the strong survived.
I can relate to every one of the wrecks out there because I was just a hair off the same position myself.
You know, it's amazing. Today was the best of days for guys like you, but believe me, it was the worst of days for some of these other competitors.
Yeah, Dan Brown, we've traveled together. We've been gone for a week racing, and his car didn't fare at all.
Congratulations on your win. Dan will be back, I know that. He's already told us, but today is your day. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Army.
Indeed, what Fred was talking about, an expensive day of racing here in Bloomsburg as we take a look at Raising Cane being pulled back to the pit area. But what a day of wreckage. He talked about Dan Brown. Let's recap what has happened. Dan Brown in the far lane. Now watch what happens in the shutdown area.
High sides it big time and flips it 3 times.
But once again, he was able to climb out and walk away uninjured. Then it was Rob Heisner's wreck. Now watch Rob also in the far lane.
The crunch cars for the monster trucks play the major role here, wiping out literally the left side of that vehicle, Gary.
And now it was the Hydra barriers at the stage. Now watch this, the near lane, the boss on the binders sliding to a very abrupt stop. So that will wrap it up from a wild day in Bloomsburg as they're assessing all the wreckage and trying to make repairs for Army Armstrong. I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's news and exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.